So after this promo between Seth and Paul Heyman, I think it's abundantly clear that Seth Rollins will be a Paul Heyman guy by the end of WrestleMania 41. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out really quick. And before we get into this, guys, please do me a favor. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. Let's get into this. Now, prior to this promo, I really do believe there were certain things that were happening here that foreshadowed the fact that Paul Heyman will join Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But before we get into those things, I want to talk about what Seth Rollins said tonight in the promo, because I feel like those are very important things and lay the foundation to what I'm going to say in the future. Now, the first thing that I noticed that Seth Rollins said, he was addressing the fact that Paul Heyman was being mentally and emotionally abused by the Bloodline 2.0 when he was a part of that faction, right? Where Solo Sikoa was just talking down to him when he got triple powerbomb through a table. And as Seth Rollins described, that he got mutilated and embarrassed on live TV in front of his own kids. And here's the thing that topped it off. He said, guess who was not there? Your tribal chief, which is something that I thought about ever since it happened. How does Paul Heyman feel about Roman Reigns not being around, nowhere to be found, when he was being abused by the Bloodline 2.0, especially when he got the triple powerbomb, right? And I think Seth Rollins is really smart for bringing that up. He also added on top of that Roman Reigns doesn't care about Paul Heyman. He only wants him to shine his shoes, carry his Ulafala, book his private jets, diminishing Paul Heyman's importance to Roman Reigns himself. And then Seth Rollins turns around and says, you know who else wasn't there when you were getting attacked by the Bloodline 2.0? Your best friend in CM Punk, a person that Paul Heyman said that he would never be disloyal to. He also said to Paul Heyman that CM Punk is here to make money, not to make friends, which I love this, because I like the fact that Seth Rollins is creating a wedge between Paul Heyman and the two people that he's loyal to, and making him question to himself. Although Paul Heyman feels like these people are important to him, although he's extremely loyal to both of these men in Roman and CM Punk, do they feel the same way about him? And those are questions that Paul Heyman is running through his head. And I feel like this is a story that you could build on in the next coming weeks going into WrestleMania. And to be honest with you, I feel like this one has the most meat to it going into WrestleMania than anything else along the way. Maybe a little bit with the Jey Uso thing, but more so with this, they are building this up to perfection. Now, what I want to address is some things that I noticed. And some of these things may be a stretch, so let me know in the comment section if they are. But there are some key points here that I feel like a lot of people miss. Now, when Paul Heyman came out at the beginning of this promo, he talked about his loyalty to Roman Reigns, his loyalty to CM Punk, and that he wouldn't be disloyal to both men. But what's very interesting is the last promo, between Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Seth Rollins. It started off being about loyalty. When Seth was out there with Roman Reigns, loyalty was the conversation. And here we are again talking about loyalty, obviously because the storyline that surrounds Paul Heyman's loyalty to Roman and CM Punk. But at the same time, I think they're trying to hint that Paul Heyman is going to be disloyal to both of those guys. He tried too hard to convince us that he wouldn't be disloyal to both these guys. So I think that foreshadows what's going to happen at WrestleMania. Here's another point that's probably a huge stretch. But if you notice in the promo of Seth Rollins, he said that we're fighting over the soul of this company. Now, this may be a stretch, and I admit it, but this isn't the first time we heard about the word soul. Remember, when The Rock was on SmackDown, when they were in New Orleans, he told Cody Rhodes that he wanted his soul. And I don't think that's an accident. I don't think that just happened out of nowhere. There could be a situation, possibly, right, that Seth Rollins could be connected to The Rock in John Cena, possibly, but I don't believe that. But I think that could be planting seeds that could be happening in the future. Now, why would Paul Heyman join Seth Rollins? Why would Seth Rollins accept this? I already talked about the fact that Seth Rollins planted the seed saying that Roman Reigns wasn't there when Paul Heyman needed him. Same thing goes for CM Punk, and talking about the fact that both men don't really care about Paul Heyman. But I think the more important thing here is that out of all the three men, it is time for a heel turn. And I don't think that CM Punk is going to turn heel, right? I don't think that's the way they want to book him. I think he's honestly going to retire as a babyface. I honestly believe that he's going to retire sometime soon. Roman Reigns just turned into a tweener/babyface, so they're not going to turn him heel again. And it is time for Seth Rollins to turn heel at this point in time. And I really like Seth Rollins as a heel. I think he does his best work. Although he's an amazing wrestler, generational in the ring, but I think his best gimmick is when he is more heelish than anything else. But why is that important? It is important because I believe that Paul Heyman works better as a manager when his client is a heel. Same goes for Roman Reigns. Same goes for Brock Lesnar. Same goes for so many other people in the past. When they are heels, he worked better with them. CM Punk, the list goes on. So I think it is time for Seth Rollins to finally become a Paul Heyman guy. And I think this will be an interesting storyline. We saw little bits and pieces and hints at Seth Rollins turning heel by threatening the wise man, by acting like he was going to smash his head like a melon with a curb stomp after he took care of CM Punk. Like all of those different things threatening him. And I think Paul Heyman, for some reason, when he gets threatened by people, when he has fear for people, when they do things in a way that he gets respect or he respects them, he are more inclined to be their manager. He probably is going to see something and stuff like, I see something there, and all he needs is a little bit of management, then he can get to where he needs to go. I feel like you can start to see that disconnect between him and Roman Reigns in a relationship. It just isn't the same ever since Roman Reigns lost at WrestleMania 40. But at the end of the day, I think this works out. Seth turns heel, Paul Heyman joins Seth Rollins. That is the ultimate betrayal to Roman Reigns and CM Punk, who Seth Rollins really hates. So that'll be a stab in the back to the both of those guys. And I think that'll be a great storyline going on there. But anyway, that's how I feel about the segment. Let me know how you feel in the comments section. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Salute, peace. Have a great day.